Alright, here we are, ready to learn Hishtadchut Nefesh, the art and discipline of personal intimate prayer with our Creator, with our Father in heaven. So as we always like to do, according to Rebbe Nachman's advice, we always start our learning with his kashrus, with making an actual statement of our connection to Rebbe Nachman and the true tzaddikim. Arena mekasher etzmi v'atzminu, v'limud Torah zu l'kol hatzaddikim ha'amitim sheborenu l'kol hatzaddikim ha'amitim shochnei afav kedoshim asher b'tzeimu afrat l'Avinu kadosh tzaddik yisod olam nachal novei mekol chochma Rebbe Nachman ben Pege Nachmaniyun zechusam yagim l'reinu l'kol Yisrael. Amen. May it be will Hashem that in the school of this learning you should send it for Shlema to everyone who needs healing in all of Am Yisrael, especially particularly Yosef ben Ilana and Chaim David ben Chana Golda and anybody else who you'd like to mention.
Michael David
Ben
Miriam Esther.
Miriam Esther. Can you say it for us? Can't hear you. Yitzchak Meir Ben. V'lulu Shmat Bela Bat Tzipora, V'lulu Shmat Chaya Bat Baya Bat Neo Shalom. So he says, we're in 83, Pei Gimel. So he says, Me'inyan Mecha'ah. So there's a halacha that if somebody's got if there's a squatter on a piece of land and he's trying to claim ownership to the land, as long as the person who's counterclaiming that I own the land, as long as that person is protesting, the squatter will not be given the right to own the property. So that's the halacha. So me'inyan mecha'a, this idea of protesting, that's explained that's dealt with in the subject of the law of holding onto property, onto ground, onto land. Shekol zman shehu mocher, as ein chezkas hamachzik mo'ilat klum. Then, as long as the person protests, the claims of the squatter won't amount to anything. Muvan hetev ech shetzrich kol adam lizchazek b'chol pam b'tfilah v'tachnunim hitbodedut v'tzaka l'Hashem yisbarach. So he says that this halacha about protesting, what happens is, as long as you keep protesting, that the person who's trying to claim their rights to the land won't be given any credence whatsoever, as long as you keep protesting. So he's going to extrapolate from that and understand, as long as we keep protesting, as long as a person strengthens himself each time to keep praying, to keep begging, to keep supplicating, to keep talking to Hashem, to keep making yourself having if the guy is protesting and the judge is about to award the custody of the land to the squatter, and the guy's sitting getting in front of the judge's face and telling him, I'm still here. Right? The judge is not going to be able to make a decision in favor of the squatter. So that's the same idea. As long as you're in Hitbodedut, you came to sit before Hashem. Right? We said, remember, if we haven't covered this subject for a while, so let's review it. Hitbodedut. Why does Rebbe Nachman have all these different words? He says prayer and supplication and Hitbodedut. Right? So Hitbodedut is the large category that literally means to make oneself alone, in parentheses, with God. Right? And that's what we do when so that very fact, as we've learned elsewhere, Rebbe Nachman taught, just the very thing that you make yourself, that you set aside a time and you present yourself before Hashem, that in itself is already very powerful and very special, and is considered a very, very amazing service, even if words never come out. Like sometimes, as we've talked about many times, and we're going to continue because it's a very important thing, that sometimes we come to talk to Hashem, and for a number of reasons, the words just don't come out. But the very first, you might think, oh no, I'm not doing it. No, the very fact that you made the appointment, you said, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try to say some words, the fact that you presented yourself to be alone with Hashem is already amazing. And he's saying that's part of your continued protest. As long as you keep protesting and calling out to Hashem, no matter what happens, it doesn't matter, you fall down, God forbid, no matter what it was that happened, as long as you keep crying out, you keep protesting, you keep supplicating, you keep bringing yourself to be in front of Hashem, Afilu im yavo alav man, no matter what transpires, ki afilu im ro'eh she'enu poel chas v'shon b'tefillah zo, because it happens that sometimes you see, along the process of spiritual growth, you see that you're in a period, and it feels like your prayer is not being answered at all. It's not that there's no effect. You're in the same old rut. You're in the same, doing the same old stupid habits, wasting time, and you've been crying and asking and begging, and the next day it's the same thing again. So that happens, right? He says, Adrabah. He says, not only do you see sometimes that you're praying and nothing's happening, but Adrabah, sometimes it's even that the prayer you're having, please Hashem, let me have control over my eating, and let me not eat more than I need. Next thing you know, you're binging on a half gallon of ice cream. You know, or 7 rolls of sushi. You know, like next thing, that's what happens. That's how this works. And you have to learn. We have to learn to have a little red flag going up, ding, ding, ding. Oh, if I'm praying and now it's getting harder for me, that means that there's something happening. We have to remember that. It says no matter what happens, you pray and nothing's happening, you pray and it's getting harder, God forbid, that the Yetzer Hara is mitkaber alav yoter beyoser, that the Yetzer Hara is coming upon you even stronger. Afal pichen yeda v'ya'amin shepoel arbe b'tfilaso b'tza'akaso. You have to know and you have to believe that you're accomplishing so much just by praying, just by screaming, just by coming to be in front of Hashem. He says you have to know, and that's one of the things I've been realizing that learning Ishtapchut Nefesh is that these are things we're not used to. And even after we've been doing this for a few years, going through it, Mamish, I have to keep reminding myself to do this, because I'm still not really used to it constantly. But I have to educate myself, and I have to teach myself, and I have to train myself, that even if I've been praying, and it still doesn't change, I have to know and believe that I'm accomplishing great, great things with just trying to pray, that this service to Hashem is so important and so precious that every little effort we make to try to do it is worlds and worlds of amazing service. So it's a great success. And we have to educate ourselves. We're reminded, Yeda v'yamin. Know it and believe it. Because at the very least, as long as we keep crying out, then it's the aspect of protest. And as we see, the halacha is, as long as you're protesting, they're not going to make a judgment against you. Right? See, Kedusha is kol echad miYisrael hu bechinas Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. Because the holiness that each Jew has is also the same spiritual vibration as the holiness that is of the land of Israel. And when the evil strengthens itself and overcomes a person through his urges and through unrefined character traits, then that's an aspect of what? That they're trying to get you to, they're trying to push, the squatters are there, they're trying to push you out of the land, they're trying to take over, the Palestinians, they're coming there, they're trying to take over the piece of land, they're trying to push you out. That's what's happening. That's exactly the same thing. The evil, whatever manifestation the evil is, anything that's trying to take a Jew out of his holiness, whether it's the intrinsic holiness of how we behave, or the place where we're living, which is in the holiness of Eretz Yisrael, any evil that's trying to do this is what we're talking about. So there's always this type of evil that will happen along, whether we see it, we're talking about this Palestinian, that is the exact same spiritual root of what we're talking about. From the ability to have a part in, or a part in the inheritance of Hashem, Shu Eretz Yisrael, which is the land of Israel. And the more we dig to try to return to the Kedusha, they don't let. They took over this piece of land. They got Gaza. You try to go back in. Now they're not going to let. They're going to get the international bodies online. But as long as we keep protesting, they're not going to make a final decision. So they're not letting us, because, so you want to come to Kedusha, some people, it's maybe, I don't know if you've ever come across this, but there are people who love Shabbos, and they have tremendous resistance about Shabbos. Shabbos comes and they're tortured from inside to the point where they feel like almost forced to do a malacha. It's like the most crazy insanity. There are people, I know a number of people like this, that they want so much to only come to the Kedusha. And Shabbos comes and they get attacked to the point where they go crazy and they Hashem Yerachim, they break Shabbos. And they say, it's an insanity that comes. Right? So no matter what, you gotta understand that this is what's happening. The evil forces are trying to push us out of our inheritance, whether it's the inheritance of the holiness of Shabbos, the inheritance of the holiness of Eretz Yisrael, the inheritance of the holiness of being a Jew, learning Torah, and doing mitzvahs. So, and we're not strong enough. Sometimes it's hard to come to fight against that evil. So therefore, when a person really pushes himself, nevertheless, to keep crying out, "Oh Hashem, it's so hard! Please help! Oh Hashem, I know you're bringing this for me for the good. I'm asking you, I need some help, I need strength, please." As long as a person continues to do that, and doesn't give up, that's the aspect, that's protesting. That through this protesting, the other side forces will not be able to hold on and claim ownership of what's rightfully our spiritual place. Not any chance at all. Because even though he's holding on to it, it's like you think right now, okay, the person's, let's say in the instance we said that the person's not keeping Shabbos. So that means the evil's holding on to him. He can't keep, he's being driven by insanity to break Shabbos. So the evil's holding on. But you know what? As long as he keeps protesting to Hashem and saying, that's not me, that's not what I want Shabbos, as long as it's not considered that the evil is, like, they're not going to say, oh, you're just evil. Oh, you're a Shabbos breaker. They're not going to say that in Shemayim. So as long as you keep protesting, in other words, again, so what's that? As long as we keep screaming out, Hashem, oi, please. As long as we're asking, please, Hashem, surely you don't want me to just be constantly pushed away. You want me to bring me close. I'm begging you. Surely and whatever it is. Hashem, I don't have any words. I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking, Hashem, I would like to speak. I can't. It's so heavy. You groan. That's an amazing, precious thing. That's part of the protest. Okay, so that's what he's saying. That doesn't, no matter what, we've seen it many, many times. He's just giving another understanding of how important and halachically he's showing us that this idea is not just a nice idea that I'm recommending you do. We can see this idea engraved in the coin of halacha. That's how true this is. So you might, because otherwise you might think, oh, this is a nice idea to try. I know it's very good. Keep trying. Saying, no, it's more than just a nice idea. It is actually an actual, completely true spiritual mechanism that manifests in halakha. Okay. Any thoughts, comments, questions before we go on? If anybody has a question, you can type in on the chat, and you'll be able to ask your question. And we have our holy moderator, Ephraim, who's ready to jump in and present your question in great holiness and sweetness. Okay, going on. Pei Daled 84. Godel hama'ala la'asot toros tfilos. We talked about it very early on, that Rebbe Nachman says that when you learn Torah, you want to turn it into prayer. She says that the greatness of the exalted level of making your Torah, whatever you learn in Torah, into a prayer, why is this greatness? He's going to tell us an idea now, that why is it so great? What's so great about making your Torah into prayer? Because whenever we did something, God forbid, not so good, whenever we've done something wrong with an avera, some sort of transgression against what Hashem's will is, whenever that's happened, what we've done is, on the spiritual level, see, everything is made of letters. Everything is made of the holy letters of the Aleph Bet. And people who are, the Kabbalists, for instance, they practice in their meditations to the point where an accomplished Kabbalist, how like the big tzaddikim who know how to, Moshe Rabbeinu, how did he kill the Egyptian? Because he knew the combination of the name of Hashem that he was able to use in his awareness and project the energy, we'll call it, the light of that, in such a way that it disintegrated the existence of that Egyptian. Right? And it's because he knew the way to use the name of Hashem, which is specifically the way to use the letters in the name of Hashem. Right? So each thing, every physical thing, now in the secular world, they're talking about these ideas now. It's been a long time now, a number of decades. Quantum physics, they understand that what we see as physical matter is really made of energy and space, and the actual physicality of it is it's a very great miracle that we have a table and a book, and it's made of, and if you looked at it on a microscopic level, you'd see it's mostly made of empty space. Right? So let's take that a step higher into truth, and what we see is it's made of the letters. That each thing, this is a sefer, and the letters Samech Pei Resh actually form the foundation of this to enable it to exist. So therefore, understand that if a person does any type of an avera transaction, when a Jew does that, because our neshamas, our souls, are so intricately entwined with the nature of the letters that come into the world. So therefore, when we do something that's not right, we cause a disharmony in those letters, and we change their actual arrangements. And it causes, if you looked at on a DNA level, and like one, or depending on the severity of the sin, but like a strand of DNA or a particular neuropeptides, I believe, are what makes up strands of DNA. I can't remember. No, there's something nucleic acid, or I don't remember the word now. But there's a part of the individual part of the chain of the genetics of the DNA that could be like a damaged molecule, right? But you wouldn't see it show up in the person unless there was many such damaged molecules. Right? So similarly like that, whenever we make it, God forbid, something wrong, we do something wrong, we actually cause a damage, a change in the way the letters present themselves in the structure of the mitzvah or the action or the action, the spiritual foundation of that action. So that's what happens. Now, so there's a damage in the interchanging of in the juxtaposition of the letters. And so the prayer, when you turn your Torah learning into prayer, what happens is this causes a fixing of those damaged juxtapositions. It rearranges the letters in their proper way. Because what happens through the turning your Torah into prayer, it causes a return and a rectification that's done with these permutations of the letters and restores them into their proper way with a greater strength. Because what happens is, when it's a well-known thing, when something gets damaged and you fix it, it actually is stronger in the place many times. Sometimes it's not, but there are certain things when you fix it, it's actually stronger in the place where it got fixed. And this is one of those places. When we turn our Torah into tefillah, and we get to fix the permutations, the juxtapositions of the letters that are going on, that becomes, he says, yeter sa'ef, yeser sa'es means with a greater power, with a greater lifting, a greater capability of these permutations to withstand damage. Because the main root of all the permutations, the holy permutations, actually happen through prayer. Because prayer is the root of Torah. Because prayer, as a general spiritual entity, is included in the 10 types of song. Shehem Yasad David Shebahem Yasad David Melech Alav Shalom Sefer Tehillim. And these are the 10 types of song, the 10 types of way that song comes in, that King David Melech, used to create the book of Psalms, Tehillim. Which, as we've seen elsewhere in Rebbe Nachman, that Rebbe Nachman says that Tehillim, Psalms, is King David's own Hitbodedut, is his Hitbodedut, and so therefore, when he brought these 10 types of song in, so therefore what happened was, and Tefillah is Shorish Torah, Ki Kol Tefillah Klula B'Sar Menigina, Shem Yisad David Melech L'Shon Sefer Tehillim, Sheklulu Mikol Tefillos. And so that Tehillim, that's why saying Tehillim is so powerful and so good, because any type of prayer that you need is actually found. Whatever you need is in Psalms. Whatever you need is actually in Psalms, and so that's why Rebbe Nachman tremendously recommends that we say Psalms as much as possible, because it's all the type of prayer, all the roots of all types of prayers in Tehillim. And the 10 types of prayer, 10 types of song are the aspect of what's called ta'amim. Bechinas niginos ve'ta'amim. Ta'amim are what's called like the trope. The ta'amim are the melodic types of the symbols that indicate the melody that we say when we're reading the Torah, how to read the Torah, or how to read the Tanakh. You'll see in the printed versions of the Tanakh that they have, not only is there the letters, but there's these little squiggly lines and dots in certain places. If you know enough, you'll know there's certain dots that are the vowels, and there's other dots and lines that are what's called the ta'amim, the musical notes. And so those musical notes, that's what he says, that these 10 types of song are the aspect of the 10 types, are the aspect of the ta'amim, of the musical notes. V'ta'amim hem tachlis shoresh ha'elyon shel kol bechinas ta'amim, nekudas ta'ginosios. And the ta'amim, these musical notes, in the writings of the Arizal, in the Kabbalistic writings, where he explains how Hashem took infinite light and made finite physicality, that there's a number of different structures Hashem used. One of them is the structure of the letters. One of them is the structure of the spherotes, the 10 lights and the way they interact, which is called the Partsufim. And then the structure of Hashem's names, and the structure of the levels of the soul, and the structure of the different levels of the worlds. All these different things. And one of the 3 structures is the ta'amim, nikudot, tagim. If you look in an actual Sefer Torah, if you look in the scroll, you'll see that the letters are written with little flags on top. They're called tagim. And they are also a type of vessel. Each one of these is a specific type of vessel that Hashem used to take infinite light and bring it down into finite physicality. So the ta'amim are the first structure that corresponds to when Hashem first started making infinite light into a vessel. At the time it's a very high level, and the vessel itself is made of light. It's a very long explanation of what that means. But that's what he's talking about here. That the ta'amim is a very high place. So the nigunim, the song, which is the Psalms, which is the prayer, and prayer is also called song. It's the gematria of prayer. Tefillah is also the gematria of song, shira. And you might say that here. The shorish, the supernal root of all the different structures. Sheish v'Torah Kedosha, that's in the Holy Torah. It's explained also part of the Zohar called the Tikkunei Zohar. Hainu shekol tzerufim shaloisi as a Torah shenizhavim al yedei nekudos hakol na'aseh al yedei tamim. Meaning to say that all these permutations of the letters of the Torah that appear with their vowels, right? All that happens through the agency, the spiritual power of these musical notes. So in other words, he's saying the Torah, remember what the original premise is. What is Rebbe Nachman explaining? How tefillah, how prayer is the root of Torah. Right? So he's explaining within Kabbalah, it's very amazing, and he's showing us, he's not just saying, I'm not just telling you a nice idea, talk to a litvak. Really, prayer is the root of Torah? No, he's showing us exactly how prayer is the root of Torah. Because song, ta'amim, is the root of everything, that the Torah, the letters and the vowels of the Torah come through the hishtalshlut, the chaining down of the light that comes first through the structure called ta'amim, musical notes. Shem sharash hakol. V'atamim hem bechinas negina. So the tamim are the aspect of melody. Bechinas asara negina, the 10 types of melody. Bechinas tefillah, which is, as we said, is the aspect of prayer. So we see now that the main existence of all the permutations, the holy permutations, that from this is weaved together the Torah, it comes from tefillah. Therefore, you can't come to really any true understanding of Torah except through prayer, and that's one of the types of turning your Torah into prayer. So when you learn the piece of Torah, you want to take it to Hashem and say, Hashem, I learned X, Y, Z. Please help me so that I should understand and be able to appreciate and relate to what it is you're teaching me through this mitzvah. And those are the types of things that's part of how you turn your Torah into tefillah. And he's also implying here also that when you sit down to learn, we do this also, we have the Chazal, our sages instituted this for us. We have the Birkas Torah, we have the blessings over Torah that we're supposed to say halachically first thing in the morning before we even learn. So we're always praying, please Hashem, give me Torah. Please Hashem, let me understand your Torah. Please Hashem, let me have a relationship with your Torah. And then make it more specific about the specific Torah that you learned. That you must turn, therefore that's why you need to turn your Torah into prayer, meaning to say that you merit, that you pray that you merit to uphold all these words, all the words of Torah that you've learned. And especially if a person knows that he's transgressed something in the Torah, God forbid. That person has to definitely, completely pray a lot about the transgression, which is turning Torah into tefillah also. That Hashem should pardon him on the past. And that from now on, please Hashem, may it be your will that I should always uphold the Torah. This everything that's written in the Torah. Because as we learned above in our last chapter, 83, through prayer you can fix everything. Prayer fixes everything. So we have to remember. So what are we going to do? So you're going to sit down, next time you sit down and take your Sefer Torah, make sure you pray. Remind yourself, what we were talking about earlier. These are things we're not used to. You know how many people, I used to do this too. How many times you think learning Torah is you go to a shir, and you sit there. Or maybe you take a book and you read it. That's not learning Torah. Torah is when you're saying the words out loud, because that provides the vessel. The purpose of learning Torah is not for us. I mean, it is, but it's for us to connect to Hashem. The purpose of learning Torah is to make the connection and set the environment and the atmosphere to be able to perceive Hashem's presence. And that's what we do. If you don't say the words out loud when you're saying your prayer, when you're saying your Torah, you're not creating a final malchut, a final vessel for that energy and consciousness to actually have presence. And so therefore, a lot of the things that you normally, like you're sitting there and you're learning Torah and you're spending your time, but you know what? On a certain level, it's a waste as long as you're not speaking. The purpose of learning, the service to Hashem is saying words. Right? So the people are going around and hearing Torah. It's very nice. I mean, Chas v'Shalom, please don't misunderstand. It's not that I'm saying it's not good. It's wonderful. But it's not complete, and it's not what's going to bring you to spiritual growth. Yeah, so you'll be knowledgeable, but you'll be knowledgeable in a place of gaiva, in a place of ego. It won't be, I'm knowledgeable because Hashem downloaded it. My Father in heaven is in front of me. He's creating me. He's giving me this gift called life. To keep that awareness, that's a very hard, a very challenging thing, but it's possible in our time. We have Rebbe Nachman's advice. That's why he's telling us to do this. That's why he talks about that you have to have shleimus lashon kodesh. You have to be speaking the words. If you're not speaking the words, if you're just reading it, it's not enough. That's what he's saying. That the prayer itself and the speaking and the giving it a voice, And that, again, and remember, and I'm not saying it's the only way, but we already said earlier, sometimes you don't have words, sometimes it's hard. But you gotta try. You gotta try. If you're only sitting there reading, and if you're only sitting there thinking it's very nice, but you're gonna kind of be spinning your wheels as far as your own growth. So, any thoughts or comments or questions up to now? Okay? Should we,
When it says the source of Torah's prayer, like, what would be like the other...
The source of Torah is prayer. One second, I've got a question over here.
The source of Torah being prayer.
Wait. You gotta mute yourself for a second here.
Sorry, can you mute yourself, please?
Okay. What?
So, other people that say otherwise, or are there other sources, or other...
That say otherwise of what?
That prayer is not the source of Torah, that, I don't know, learning...
Well, no. People don't... I don't think people... I don't think people think about it.
Okay.
You know, people... the Gemara Bracha says it very clearly. It says there are things that stand at the pinnacle of the universe and people make light of them. What is that thing? Prayer. Right? That's why the people don't think, oh, wait a minute, prayer stands at the pinnacle of the universe and it's the root of all my Torah. No, I'm just going to sit and learn Gemara. You know, I'll daven my Shmona Esrei, and that's my prayer. It's very important to understand. I'm not knocking every little bit we do in Kedusha, especially in our time, is wonderful. We're talking about, Rebbe Nachman's talking about being a spiritual warrior, being a martial artist, being able to go from level to level until you yourself are able to perform moftim, miracles, in a hidden way. That's what Rebbe Nachman says, I can make you like me, mamish. He means that. No matter who we are, no matter what we are, follow his advice. Speak holy words all the time, and you will create the vessels for yourself to have the awareness of Hashem and the connection, such that your words become even more powerful, such that you're able, through your prayers and your words, to actually help many people. That's what Rebbe Nachman for all of us. Chaim David, you had a question.
Yes. And the fact that we're sitting here listening to your share, that means we're not being kind in this or long because of
No. I said you have to say words. If you're only people, there are people who only go and listen to shirim. Okay? And you go to listen to a shir, say the words back in your mind. Whatever you're hearing, say it. Repeat the words to yourself. We think so much faster than people can speak. And you can actually hear yourself it's not quite the same as speaking. Speaking is malchus. Malchus means manifestation. Speaking is the final manifestation that comes when you have a thought and an idea and an intent, and then you say it, that's a manifestation. Okay? And we want that. But when you're just listening, that's also good. It's not that, again, as I said, I'm not saying it's not good. It's just not the tachlis. And the tachlis is our saying the words. So let's say you go to hear a shir. So what do you do after the shir? So during the shir, I'll just give you, like I said, there's an idea. Repeat the words to yourself. This way you're going to remember what you learned, and also you're already saying it. But at the end, after the shir, say it out loud. I just learned X, Y, and something. Either help me fulfill this, please let me be able to remember this, so that I can apply it, and please give me clarity. Maybe I don't understand this, X, Y, Z. But that's how you turn your Torah into tefillah. If you're going to listen to a shir, make sure that you're interactive with what you're hearing. Don't just sit there and just absorb, I'm going to pleasure myself. We wanted to do avodas halev, the service of the heart. Avodas Hashem, the work of the serving of Hashem. I'm not here to sit there and listen to Torah because it gives me pleasure, although that's also part of Hashem wants us to have the owning and the delight of it, for sure. But when that's my attitude, that's very selfish. So I'm giving. When I try to program myself to perceive every word that comes out of my mouth as a gift to Hashem. Because Rebbe Nachman says this. Every word that comes out of a Jew's mouth of holiness is so precious. So I feel like I try to imagine each word is like a diamond, is a gift. And I try to have that. How do you feel when you're giving a gift? It's really good, right? So what if your prayer, what if your Torah learning, you're sitting there and learning halacha, and you say it out loud, and you let yourself believe and realize and know that every single word is such a gift that you're giving your Father in heaven beautiful gifts that He likes. You know, when we're compared to Hashem, we're little children. I don't know if you know that, if you can relate to this idea. You know, when a little child comes home from school, from Gan, and the little child made this little picture of a Sefer Torah, like, he's so happy, he's so proud, he gives it to his parent, and he's so happy, he's giving a present to his parents. Right? And the parents adore the child. And they save this precious little scribble with crayons. And some people save it for years, it's so precious to them. That's these words to Hashem. We have to know that. We have to teach us. We have to drum it into ourselves because we're so far, and there's so many forces that want to oppose this and stop us from believing this. I bless us and pray, please Hashem, to give us the strength to give us the clarity and to give us the memory to be able to take all these words, to be able to turn our Torah into prayer, to be able to take our word and constantly scream them out, to never give up protesting to you, Hashem, that we want to come to closer and closer to. We want to be like Rebbe Nachman wants us to be able to be holy, to manifest our holiness. We are always holy, but to manifest our holiness in such a way that we help the world come to true good, because everybody knows how much craziness is not goodness in the world. So we got to get it together. Where the non-Jews are right. They intrinsically know it's our world. The world was created for Am Yisrael, and if there's all these problems, we have to take it upon ourselves and realize what's missing: Ahavas Yisrael and Ahavas relationship with Hashem, and actually saying the words and praying and just crying out and screaming. How much are we crying for the pain of the world? What's crazy? And are we just gnashing our teeth and pushing down our fear? I hope it doesn't come here. What are we doing? So I bless us. We should always be able to do these things, to educate ourselves and come to this place and believe in our prayer. We should, everyone, please Hashem, give us such clarity and certainty that we can believe in the preciousness and power of our prayer, so that we will always pray. And so doing, please, we'll see the world change more and more to the good. Ken Yiratzon. Yashar Kochechem. Thank you, everybody. Any other questions or comments or ideas before we say good night? Yeah, there's a lot of beeps. Let's check what's going on.
I'm not sure let's find out.
Wow, somebody said, well, listening to the shir, I just performed the mitzvah of shooting the mother bird away and lifted the egg from the nest. That's cool. So when you do that, you tell Hashem, thank you Hashem for bringing this mitzvah to my hand, and please let me do it the right way and describe it to me as if I had done it the right way. That's also turning your Torah into tefillah. Good. Anything else? Baruch Hashem. Somebody said, so happy to be learning this again. Welcome back. Baruch Hashem. Let's make this every week, and please everybody apply it and ask Hashem after you go home tonight, after you turn off the computer, whatever. Ask Hashem, these words I just heard, Hashem, please let them permeate my being and make them real for me all the time, every that I should be in relationship with you all the time. Amen. Ken Yiratzon. Okay, thank you. Yeshakar.
Thank you so much.